So we continue to follow the Roswell Presbyterian Church sermon series. We're still in the book of Exodus, and this week was Exodus chapter 30, where God reveals God's character to the people of Israel. And the gist is that God's yes is always much bigger than God's no. God's mercy and steadfast love extends to the 1,000th generation. One way you might think of this is that the comeback is always more powerful than the setback. So we're going to be on our backs today, focus on some balancing and maybe a little bit of instability so that we can increase our stability. Make sure you have a couple of blocks and a strap, and we'll get going. So the title of the sermon series was Second Chances. God is a God of second chances. Even when we screw up, God's mercy and faithfulness and steadfast love is a guarantee. Maybe there's somebody in your life that you'd like to dedicate this practice to. Maybe there's somebody who's struggling or is in need of mercy and forgiveness. You could set this as a moving prayer. So once you've set your intention, let it go, and then just pay attention to the breath. And on an exhale, draw your knees toward your chest, maybe hold the backs of the thighs, and gently rock from side to side. So the passage also reminds us that God's judgment will be passed on to the third and fourth generation, even though God's steadfast love extends to the 1,000th. That's a pretty good balance in our favor. And on an exhale, go ahead and plant your feet again. So this week in my yoga teaching, I've been focusing on balance. So we'll continue to do that tonight. So on an exhale, draw your left knee into your chest again, and maybe gently give it a tug towards the outside of the shoulder and move it around a little bit, just feeling into the hip joint. So the thing about good balance is it's all about the muscles closest to the spine. So on an exhale, go ahead and stretch your left leg out on the mat and just let the heel rest on the mat. The best image I can think of for the muscles close to the spine is if you think about a big, tall construction crane, it would be nothing without that cable running up the center that lifts heavy things. So that's kind of like what we want to think of the muscles in our core that we use to help us balance. We start with the inner thigh. So think about engaging the inner thigh, draw your toes back toward your knee and firm up that leg. The next muscle connects the hip joint, the femur, all the way up to our 12th vertebra, T12, where the baby rib attaches. So I want to invite you to exhale and just gently lift your heel up off the mat and let it hover. The legs stay straight if you can. Shouldn't be any back pain. Feel that inner thigh, that psoas muscle from your hip up to your ribs, and exhale, go ahead and put it down. So you're going to do that a couple more times while I let somebody in to the waiting room. So on an exhale, again, just bring that heel up, let it hover, and feel those muscles, inner thigh, psoas muscle, from the hip point to the rib cage. We're just getting started. And inhale, go ahead and put that leg down. And one more time. Exhaling. Lift that heel up off the mat slightly so you can feel those muscles engage, close to the bones. And exhale, put it down. And then go ahead and bend that left knee again, plant your foot flat. And we'll do the same thing with the right leg. So check in before we go and just make sure that your back of your neck is still long and the shoulder blades are tucked together nice and relaxed. And stretch your right leg out on the mat for a moment. Draw those toes back toward the knee, flexing the foot. And start to feel the inner thigh engaged. And then as you exhale, lift that heel so the leg just hovers. And feel that psoas muscle engaged from the hip point up to the ribs. So then there's all these other little muscles called the multifidi around the base of the spine. They're working too. They co-contract with the abdominal muscles. So exhale, go ahead and release. So this would be a great exercise to do before you got out of bed in the morning. Support your spine. Exhale one more time. Lift that leg. Let it hover. And gently release. And then bend the knee and bring the knee back. Plant your foot. So then take your arms out to the side, maybe cactus arms if you don't have a lot of space, or stretched all the way up if you can, and just gently windshield wipe your knees from side to side, exhaling down one way, inhaling through center, exhaling the other. Just do that a couple more times, just moving with your breath. One more time each side. And then come on back to neutral. So make sure your feet are still in line with your hips. Maybe feeling a little bit pigeon-toed so that we keep the sacrum, the back of the pelvis, the sacroiliac joint wide. Take your palms down by your side. Push into the mat gently. Exhale. And then inhale. Take your arms overhead. Let the backs of the palms tap the ground behind you. And then exhale, hands back down by the mat. And again, inhale, arms overhead. And exhale down. Nice and fluid, like your arms are moving through water. One more time, inhale, arms overhead. And exhale down. Stay here, inhale. Then exhale, draw your knees into your chest. On your next inhale, hold the backs of your thighs, take your heels to the ceiling. The legs don't have to straighten, but explore those hamstring muscles. And then exhale, knees back, bent, heels toward the glutes. And then inhale, put your feet back down on the mat. So we'll do that again. Use your low belly muscles. Exhale, pull your knees toward your chest. Inhale, heels to the ceiling. Nice. Exhale, drop the heels back. And then inhale, put your feet back down. So we're going to combine the arms and legs now. Inhale, take your arms overhead. Exhale, knees into the chest. Gently hold your thighs or your shins. Then inhale, fingertips and heels to the ceiling, like you're holding a cardboard box between your arms and your legs. Then exhale, knees to the chest. Just bend the knees and gently hold your shins. And then inhale, plant your feet. And at the same time, take your arms overhead. Just feel the strength that requires in your core. So one more time, exhaling, drawing the knees into the chest, arms to the shins. Inhale, heels, fingertips to the ceiling. Exhale, knees in. And inhale, plant the feet, arms overhead. We're going to do this one more time. Exhaling, knees into the chest. Inhale, heels to the ceiling. Exhale, bend the knees again, gently hold your shins. And inhale, plant your feet, take your arms overhead. So maybe reach your arms, interlace your fingers and reach your arms way away from your head, just getting a nice, like a big morning stretch with the upper body. And then gently release that. And we're going to roll to one side so that you can push yourself up to seated. So whatever hip you landed on is fine, right? So we're going to get into a nice, easy twist. One of the things I've been paying attention to is the sacroiliac joint, right? So partly because my husband Tom is struggling with what I think might be some sacroiliac joint derangement. And this is a great, easy twist for that. So sit up really, really tall. Take your palm facing out. You're going to twist away from your legs, away from your feet. So inhale, get tall, and exhale, twist. Maybe looking over that back shoulder. I can't remember if I've introduced you all to my yoga studio pet Eli the elephant over there in the corner. So inhaling, gently release. And on an exhale, sit back on your hips, swinging your feet forward. So Eli's good at sharing wisdom. So we're going to keep our feet planted, sit up really, really tall. I'm resting some of my body weight on my hands. My fingertips are pointing straight to the side. Shouldn't bother your wrists too much. On an exhale, pull one knee into your chest, and then inhale, flex the foot and extend the heel out. Again, work on those core muscles. And then exhale, put it down. Just do the same thing on the other side. So exhaling, pull the knee into the chest. Inhale, stretch that heel out as much as you can. Keep your chest lifted nice. Exhale, go ahead and put it down. And then we're going to swing our feet to the other side. So no live pets in this yoga studio. You have to make do with a stuffed animal. So inhale, get really, really tall. And exhale, twist away from your feet. So steady gaze, even breath. Quieting the mind. Calming the body. Go ahead and come on out of it, and we're going to come on to all fours. So make sure you're spreading your fingers wide. Pad your knees with a blanket or make a wrinkle in your yoga mat if it's helpful. Middle fingers pointing right towards the front edge of your mat. And kind of firm up the upper arms like you're drawing them toward one another and spreading the backs of your shoulder blades. Take the left leg out behind you. Maybe curl those toes under and get a nice little calf stretch. And then pull that low belly in and inhale, take the heel up. And then on an exhale, pull your knee into your chest. You don't have to drop your head toward your knee if you don't want, but you could. And then inhale, heel out. Exhale, knee into the chest. Keep those backs of the shoulder blades spreading wide. Inhale, heel out. Just look at the front edge of your mat. And exhale, knee in. And then inhale, heel out again. And we'll challenge our balance by taking the opposite thumb toward the ceiling. Just gaze down, straight down below your nose. So if you want to challenge yourself, this is a pretty safe way to get a little instability. So we have to get a little instability to increase our balance. Maybe lift the foot of the knee that's on the ground so that you're just balancing on your knee. This is super challenging. I've been doing this for 2 days and I'm still wobbly, wobbly, wobbly. Getting better though. And exhaling, gently release and rock your hips from side to side. So making the base, what's in contact with the earth, smaller, helps challenge our balance. So maybe you want to come up on your hands and give your wrists a little shake. If you're not used to being on your wrists, it can get a little challenging, right? Okay. Nice. Then we're going to go back to do the other side. So now extend your right leg out behind you. Just look down that space between your thumbs. Maybe before we start, give that calf a little stretch, keeping the toes curled under, right? And then inhale, lift the heel. And then exhale, knee to the chest. Maybe the nose comes toward the knee. Don't have to. Inhale, heel out. Firm up those upper arms. Spread the back of the shoulder blades. Exhale, knee to the chest again. Nice. And inhale, heel out. One more time. Exhale, knee in. Inhale, heel out. Just gaze at the front edge of your mat and decide if you want to take your opposite thumb to the ceiling. Just gaze down under your nose. Maybe this knee's not going to cooperate, but maybe you can lift your back foot. Just notice the difference from one side to the other. So opposite lines of energy, feel like somebody's pulling on your wrist and pulling on your heel. And exhaling, gently release down. Go ahead and rock your hips from side to side. And then if you're able to come to a child's pose, take your knees a little bit wider than hip width apart. Bring your hips back towards your heels. Remember, you could always stick a yoga block between your hips and your heels for some support. You could put a yoga block on your head or a blanket. a couple of books. But see if you can drop your head to the mat. Take a few breaths here. So rest is just as important as the work, right? Finding balance even there. One more breath. If you had 15 or 20 minutes and that's it, this yoga practice, what we've done so far, would be a great thing to do. So on an inhale, pull your low belly in and reach your shoulders back over your wrists. Walk your knees back so that you can get your spine nice and long. So we're in a modified push-up plank. Squeeze those elbows in. See if you can keep your hips up, your tailbone pointed toward your heels, and drop your upper body to the mat. See if there's a little space under my hips. Hips come down last. Nice. And make a pillow for your head with your hands and just rock your hips from side to side. So thinking about our body as the frame of a construction crane again, tune into those inner thigh muscles. Really squeeze those inner thighs together like you have a mermaid tail. Then gently tuck your tailbone, activating that psoas muscle from the hip joint up to the T12, bottom baby rib. And then on an inhale, keep your legs straight. See if you can lift your heels. Might come up only 1/4 of an inch, right? Take a couple breaths. So again, using those multifidi, little triangular muscles close to the spine. And exhaling, gently release. Rock your hips from side to side. So we're going to do that again. Squeeze your inner thighs, tuck your tailbone. Then on an inhale, release the heels up into the air. And exhaling, gently release, rock the hips from side to side again. Then bring your hands right under your shoulders. You can even let your forehead rest on the mat for a moment here. Drop your elbows toward the mat like grasshopper arms. And we're going to do 4 cobra poses. So each one getting a little bigger than the last. So activate your legs again, push the tops of the feet into the mat. And on an inhale, just raise the back of your head up, gazing at the mat. And exhale, gently release. Nice. Go a little deeper, so drop the elbows, inhale. Lift your shoulders so that you can gaze at the front edge of your mat. And exhale, gently release. So remember, you're your own best teacher. That might be as far as you need to go. If you want to try and go a little further, drop those elbows. And inhale. Lift your shoulders up so that you can gaze maybe a foot beyond the edge of your mat. And exhale down. Last one. Go a little bigger if you like. Use those legs. Inhale, draw the back of the neck up and maybe gaze straight forward. And exhaling, gently release. Make a pillow for your head with your hands. Bend your knees and windshield wiper your feet from side to side. Good, then release the legs down. All right, bring your hands back onto your shoulders. Maybe bring them a little closer to your waist. Pull your low belly in. Push yourself away. Coming back to all fours and rock your hips from side to side. So we're going to do a side plank to get those muscles around the side of the rib cage and your shoulder girdle nice and strong and activated. Also important for our balance. So I've got my forearm parallel to the short edge of my mat, right? My knees are bent at about 90 degrees, right? So my knees are slightly forward of my hips. This would be a modification, right? You're going to pull your low belly in and push into your elbow, lifting your hips off the ground. So go ahead and drop down. If you wanted to challenge yourself a little more, you could stretch your legs straight out, flexing your feet like you're standing on them. And then try it with straight legs. Inhaling, push in to your elbow and lift your hips. Maybe your top hand comes to the hip. Maybe your top arm goes up in the air. Maybe you could challenge yourself by looking up. So where we put our gaze can also challenge our balance. Take another breath, drop down when you need. And exhaling, gently release. So we're going to come back through that seated on one hip. Just push yourself up. Right? Bring your feet forward, being mindful of the transitions. Right? And then turn your legs to the other side, and we'll try it on the other side. Might be completely different on this side. So start with your knees bent about 90 degrees. Pull your low belly in, and inhale. Push into your shoulder, lifting your hips off the mat. So if that went okay, release. And you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, you could straighten your legs out. Keep those feet flexed like you're standing on them. Again, pulling the low belly in and lifting your hips up one more time. So maybe your top hand comes to your hip. Maybe it's up in the air. Maybe you're going to gaze upward. Keeping the shoulders, the hips, everything pointed forward. Remember, it's just a practice. It's a journey. And exhaling, gently release. Again, safely transitioning. Come back onto that hip, and then come to all fours. All right, so we're going to come to standing. I'm going to use a yoga block. You could use a chair, stool, something sturdy. Bring one leg forward, knee right over the ankle, right? Then we curl those back toes under. Take your time, right? Pull that low belly and lift the back thigh. Root your front foot and scoot your back foot to meet your front. Knees are still soft. I'm going to rest my hands on my thighs. Look forward and gently come on to standing. Bring your shoulders up toward your ears. Roll them back and down. And then bring your hands, palms together in front of your heart. Take a breath. So again, maybe making this a moving prayer for somebody who's having a challenging time, is in need of a reminder of God's steadfast love and mercy. And then we're going to go into tree pose. So one of the things that we sometimes do is we think we got to get our knee way out to the side, and we end up torquing our pelvis in some way to make it happen. So today we're just going to focus on really what our body is capable of in staying straight and strong. So shift your weight from one side to the other. And then come right back to center. So I'm going to be your mirror. You're going to shift your weight into your left leg today. Just lift your right knee. So this is not about building bone. We want to stay in contact with the floor if that's the easiest way for us to balance. So I've just got my big toe on the ground. All right? Maybe you lift the knee up slightly. Then take the knee like you're going from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Straight out, wherever it goes. Maybe it only goes to 1:30 or 2 o'clock. That's okay. Then you could just keep your toe on the ground, or you could put your foot gently on the ankle, the calf, wherever it goes. So think about the crane, right? Oops, don't watch me. Find a focal point that's not moving. Think about that cable running up the middle of your body, inner thighs, psoas muscle, all those muscles around the spine. All right? So, okay, take a few tries, couple of breaths. Exhaling, gently release, and just walk it out. So never ever trying to balance with your eyes closed, at least not on my watch. You can try it on your own some other time. So shift your weight from side to side again a little bit. Check in and make sure that the outside edges of your feet are parallel. So you're going to feel a little bit pigeon-toed. right? And that's going to give you some better balance. Come right back to body weight on the center, and then shift into your right leg. Peel the heel of the left foot off the ground. Maybe it raises up a few inches. And then, like you're going from 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock, open that knee out. And if I have messed up your clock face, don't worry about it, just do the other leg. And then see where this foot goes. So this side might be different. Tune into that inner thigh, psoas muscle, right? Relax the jaw. Make sure you're still breathing. If you're holding your breath, then you've gone too far. Come back and start over. Exhaling, gently release and walk it out. Nice. Okay. So we're going to do some standing poses. So I'm going to invite you to take a big wide straddle, as wide as you can. Again, holding onto the chair, going back against the wall. Whatever's best for you. So go as wide as you can. And again, the outer edges of the feet are going to be a little bit pigeon-toed, right? And then we're going to turn the right heel inward so that we've got heel to arch alignment, setting up for warrior two, right? Go ahead and keep your hands on your hips, shoulders, pelvis, all pointing the same direction. And then look down at your big toe, that turned out foot, and take the knee right over the middle of the foot so you can still see your big toe. Hips are still open, shoulders are still open, right? So if you can't get your knee to track over the middle of your foot, maybe turn those toes forward slightly so that your hips, if your pelvis isn't quite that as open, that's okay. You want to keep the knee right over the middle of the foot. So we can challenge our base here too. Lift the heel of the bent leg. And exhale, put it down. And then lift your toes of that bent leg if you can, or just try. So then we're activating the quad and then the hamstring. Exhale, put it down. We're going to do that again. Inhale, lift the heel of the bent leg. Exhale, put it down. Then inhale, lift the toes. Feel that hamstring get strong. And exhale, put it down. And then check in, make sure your knee's still over the middle of the foot, and take your arms out to the side. So let's just flow a little bit, right? We're going to go from extended side angle to reverse warrior. It's just about moving the upper body. Base stays nice and strong. Exhaling, take your forearm toward your thigh, top arm right over the head. Maybe you gaze down at your big toe. Inhaling, come through center. Rest your other hand on your back thigh. Turn the front palm facing up and draw a line up the ceiling. So we're going to do that one more time. Exhaling, forearm to the thigh. Keep that front knee bent. Look at your big toe. Inhaling through center. And exhaling. Gently arch. And then come on back up to center. Straighten that front leg. And we're going to turn those toes forward. So even yourself out a little bit, maybe bend your knees, shift your weight from side to side, just relaxing the legs a little bit, relax the jaw, and then turn the other toes out. Hips stay open, shoulders stay open, right? Look at the big toe, and take that knee right over the middle toes. So if your hips aren't really open, and your toes can't point straight to the side, bring them back a little bit. And then on an inhale, lift the heel of that bent leg. And exhale, put it down. Then we'll engage the hamstring. Lift the toes. And exhale, put it down. Inhaling, lift the heel. Exhale, release. Follow your breath, steady gaze. Inhale, lift the toes. And exhaling, gently release. Take your arms out to the side. Stay nice and firm. Straighten that front leg. Give it a little break if you need. And then we're going to flow. Forearm to the thigh, upper arm overhead. Look at your big toe. Keep your legs where they are, nice stable base. Inhale and come through center. Rest the back hand on the thigh and draw a line up toward the ceiling. One more time, inhaling through center, like you're flowing through water. Exhale. Look at your big toe. Inhaling through center. And exhaling up. Come on back to neutral. Inhaling, straighten the legs. Turn your toes in. And we're going to heel toe our way safely, right? Back to standing Tadasana. Bring those feet parallel, outer edges, a little bit pigeon-toed, right under your hips. Drop your tailbone. Bring your hands to your heart center. Maybe even close your eyes if that feels safe. If not, just gaze down at your fingertips. Just feel how strong you are in mountain pose. Okay, we're going to flow. Just one sun salutation either side. So come back to the top of your mat. I'm just going to turn myself around. I like to call sun salutations the way that we stay out of the help I've fallen and I can't get up club. All right, that is the club we want to stay out of. So on an inhale, take your arms up in the air. Exhaling, soften the knees, take your arms out to the side. Gaze at the front edge of your mat as you bring your ribcage toward your thighs. Your knees can stay soft. Inhale, lift your hips, reach the spine out long so you look like an upside down L. Exhaling, bend the knees. Doesn't matter which leg you take back. Hold on to your block or the floor. Shift your body weight and take one leg way, way back so your front knee stays over the ankle. It's the same way we came to standing, right? Pull that low belly in, float the back knee down. No banging, right? Let that back foot relax, and on an inhale, bring your hands to your thigh. All right, so if you're feeling wobbly, push your hips forward more and walk that front foot out to the side of your mat a little bit. Wider base, right? Nice. So really got to get that front foot way, way, way forward of your knee. Right? Good. And if you're feeling safe and stable, maybe take your arms up over your head. Nice. Pull that low belly in. Exhaling, bring your hand back to your support, the block, or maybe the floor. Bring the front leg to meet the back. We've been here before, right? We're going to walk our hands a little bit forward so we can bring our shoulders right over our wrists. So the spine's nice and long. Squeeze those elbows in. Focus on your inner thighs. Muscles close to the spine, and exhale, body down to the mat. Push the tops of the feet into the mat. Drop your elbows. We're going to do one easy cobra. If you want to go deeper into an up dog, feel free. Inhale, just look at the front edge of your mat. And exhale, forehead to the mat. Then we're going to reverse our push-up, right? Squeeze the elbows in, come onto your knees. So 2 options here. You can bring one foot forward, same one you took back, and get ready to go to standing, or you can curl your toes under and take a downward facing dog, right? So pull your upper arms toward one another and lift your hips up and way back towards the rib cage in a downward dog. So you might want to walk your dog if you're there. A child's pose is a good option here too, right? So wherever you are, take a breath, and we will finish our flow. You could float both knees down to pull one leg forward, or you could lift that leg in the air, pull the knee toward the chest. However you get there, you want to get that knee right over the ankle, right? Use your block if it's helpful. We scoot our back foot to meet the front, right? Nice. When you're ready, inhaling, reach the crown of the head out long, firm up those quads, upside down L again. Right. Exhaling, maybe you soften. Maybe you let your head hang completely. Then drop your hips, knees bent, hands to the thighs. Come up with a flat back. If you're able to inhale, sweep your fingertips up in the air. And exhale, bring your hands back to your heart center and take a breath. Just feel all that good energy you're creating. And on the inhale, we'll go again. So inhale, take your arms up. Soften your knees. Exhale, folding forward. Ribs toward the thighs. Then inhale, reach the head forward. Firm up your thighs. Lengthen the spine. Exhaling, soften the knees. Find your prop again. Maybe block, chair. And take the other leg way back in high lunge. So now we're coming to lunge on the other side, right? Front knee over the ankle. Float the back knee down gently. So check in, keep your hips low and forward. And nice and stable, bring your hands to your thigh. So scoot that, use your hand to scoot that front foot forward more if you need. All right? Nice. And then maybe you sweep your arms up. Or one arm, right? Whatever works. Exhaling, hands back to the mat. So we continue our flow, bring the front leg to meet the back. Right, inhaling, shoulders over the wrists. If you know a way to challenge yourself more, feel free. That might be on your toes instead of your knees. Exhale, try and keep your hips up till last. And float the body down. So one easy back bend on your inhale, push the feet into the mat. Inhale, lifting the shoulders, just gazing forward. And then exhale, forehead back to the mat. We're going to reverse our push-up, right? Squeeze those elbows in. Back to your modified plank. Take a child's pose. Get yourself ready to come to standing, or lift your hips up and back to downward facing dog. Take a breath. Then you're going to prepare to come to standing. So maybe that's floating both knees down. Maybe that's lifting that leg you took back, pulling the knee toward the chest. So just do what's right for you. Get yourself safely into that high lunge, knee over the ankle. All right. Take your time. Stretch yourself out. Use your breath. Exhaling, bringing that back foot to meet the front. All right. Nice. When you're ready, inhaling, fingers under the knees, upside down L. Exhaling, soften one more time. Bring your hands to your thighs and come to standing with a flat spine. Take your arms up in the air one more time. And exhale your hands to your heart center. Take a breath. So we're going to do one more balance. It's really good for the sacroiliac joint. You could do this seated in a chair or holding onto the wall. It's eagle pose, right? So I'm going to put my big toes together. My heels are about an inch apart. I'm going to wiggle your toes, put your hands on your hips, and sit your body weight down into your heels. So again, definitely holding onto a chair because we're going to go to one leg. And I'm going to try and be your mirror. If I'm messing up my left and rights, just make sure you do both sides. Shift your body weight into your left leg. Lift your knee up and over. So maybe you keep your big toe on the ground like a kickstand. Maybe you let the leg hang free. You see my foot moving? Maybe you take that foot and wrap it around the back of your shin. So here are some hints. I'll turn sideways so you can see me. Right? The more that your shoulders are over your hips and the lower you sit, the easier it is to balance. Forward is harder, right? So stay upright wherever you are. Then take your arms out to the side. The leg that's on top, the elbow's going underneath. So maybe you give yourself a little hug like you're reaching for your shoulder blades. Maybe you double wrap your forearms. So whatever you are able to do, squeeze your muscles into the midline, all the joints. Use your drishti, breathe, and then gently release. Take your arms out to the side. Feel all the blood flowing back into the joints. And exhale your hands to your heart center. And just know that you're getting all the benefits wherever you can go, right? And we'll get prepared for the other side. So wiggle your toes, sit down into your heels, find a drishti, a focal point, take the opposite knee up and over. All right? I'll turn sideways. And, all right, so you could do kickstand. You could let the foot hang free, or you could try and wrap the shin. It's also good for your sacroiliac joint. Then you're going to take the arm of the leg that's on top and tuck it under your other elbow. Maybe you give yourself a hug. Maybe you wrap your shins. Keep that focal point. Come back to your breath. So if this challenged you, next time you get on your back, try doing this laying on your back. It's much easier. Then gently release 2 feet on the ground. Unfurl your arms like wings. A way to remember God's mercy and steadfast love. And exhale, bring your hands to your heart center. So we're going to bring ourselves down to the mat. Inhaling. Same way we have already, right? Fingertips up in the air. Exhaling, soften the knees. Gently fold forward. Ribs to the thighs. Inhale, come halfway up. Crown of the head reaching out long. Exhale, bend the knees. Use the floor or your prop. Doesn't matter which leg you take back, but take it back so that your front knee stays over the ankle. Try not to let that knee get beyond your toes. Float the back knee down. And come to all fours. All right, so just here on all fours, close your eyes and just notice how your body feels. Feel any different? How does your spine feel? Maybe longer, lighter. If you notice tension building anywhere, send an exhale there. And then rock onto one hip. And we're going to do a seated twist. So take your right knee and point it straight forward. You could draw your left foot in. Just have it resting by your shin, or you could cross it over your body if that feels okay. Right? Or if your right knee bothers you, you could stretch your right leg straight out. Lots of ways to do this twist. So you're going to inhale, sit up really, really tall. Hold on to that top knee, the left knee with your right hand, if that's what you've got. And you're going to twist your rib cage toward that top thigh. So feel this twist mostly from above the waist, right? The hips are nice and level, anchored. So now just imagine that cable in your construction crane rotating around itself. Maybe the head even looks over the back shoulder. Nice. Okay, and gently release. I wanted to make sure that you guys hadn't frozen. All right, so go ahead and shake your legs out. And we'll go to the other side. So whatever you did on that side, try and do on this side too. So maybe the left foot folded in or extended straight out. Right foot by your inner thigh or crossed over. Sit up really, really tall. And exhale, twist toward your front leg. So what I want to say as we finish up our practice is do not be discouraged. One of the things Jeff said in his sermon was sometimes it's harder to take the Egypt out of us than it is to take us out of Egypt. And he was referring to the golden calf where the Israelites screwed up. Go ahead and gently release. Shake your knees out again. So there's no screw-ups in yoga as long as you're staying safe, doing the best you can. You're getting all the benefits. We're going to roll ourselves down to the mat, right? So maybe you need to rock onto one side to keep your spine straight. Maybe you can just make this a little core exercise and roll down, just no pain in the low back, right? And then draw your knees into your chest. Keep the back of the neck long, pad your head with a blanket if it's helpful, and gently rock from side to side. We're going to give our hamstrings one last stretch. So if you have a strap and want to use it, or a towel or a necktie, you can wrap it around one foot, doesn't matter which one. Or you could just hold the back of your thigh or your shin. If you're able to straighten that other leg straight out on the mat, pushing the thigh toward the mat. Then walk your hands up your strap so that your arms are straight and draw your shoulders back toward the mat. Maybe even close your eyes here, or tuck your chin a little bit and just breathe. Send the exhale to the tight place. So this is essentially a forward fold. Great to do before you go to sleep. One more deep exhale. Bend the knee. Gently release your tie if you were using it. If it's safe for your spine, stretch that leg out next to the one on the ground and just notice the difference in the way one leg feels versus the other. I say it all the time, it's one of my favorite yoga moments. So bend your knee, plant your foot. We'll do the other side. Take the other leg in the strap or hold on to your shin, your thigh. Stretch the bottom leg out on the mat if you can. Then lengthen your arms and draw your shoulders back. So tuning into the sensations in your body and sending the exhale to the tight place. Exhale and gently release the strap if you have it. So you can either bend both knees and plant your feet, or you could stretch that leg out to meet the other and just notice how it feels. Did you get yourself nice and evened out? And I do want to invite you to bring your feet back in by your hips, bending the knees as much as you can. Take the feet wide as the edges of the mat, and once again the arms out to the side. And gently exhale the knees from one side to the other. Just moving with your breath. Inhale through center, exhale to one side. Just gentle spinal twists. Coming back to where we began. Do one more time each side. And pull the lower belly in, draw the knees into the chest one last time. Hold the backs of your thighs and inhale, take your heels toward the ceiling. So now you look like a right side up L. So this is also a great pose to do before you go to bed. You can put your legs up against the wall or just hold the backs of your thighs for like 20 breaths. Relax your feet, no more work. It's also great for your circulation, so it's sending all that blood flow back to your heart. Now, if you have uncontrolled blood pressure or eye issues such as glaucoma, you should be careful with these inversions. When you're ready, bend those knees again. Plant your feet on the mat. So some suggestions for Shavasana. The most important pose of all, right? The whole point of the movement is to be still. You could put the soles of your feet together and let your knees flop open. You could even tuck your blocks outside your thighs for support. Remember, there's 3 settings: low, medium, and high. Or you could go back to the wall and put your legs up the wall, or put your calves on a chair. Or simply stretch yourself out, completely supine, toes flopped open, heels heavy, hips heavy, shoulders heavy, back of the head heavy. So just follow your breath. Nothing to do until you hear my voice again. So take one more deep exhale, biggest one of the day. And then start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe bend your elbows. When you're ready, bend your knees. Take your time. Reawakening your body gently. Eventually, you want to gently roll yourself to one side. So maybe staying rolled on your right side with the knees bent. Cradling your head and your bottom arm for a few breaths. A version of the embryo pose, getting ready to begin again. So one of the things that Jeff reminded us is that God's no is always wrapped into a much bigger yes. When you're ready, gently push yourself up to seated. Come to that easy seated pose. I want you to recall your intention. If you had a person or a group of people in mind for this practice, sitting up really, really tall, close your eyes, bring your hands to your heart center. One last time, wishing them God's loving kindness. The Hebrew word hesed. So whatever challenges they or you are facing, remember that the comeback is always more powerful than the setback. The Spirit in me honors the Spirit in each of you. Thanks for being here. Namaste.